Good morning. I am Steve Weber, and I am the host of the American Gumption Morning Show. Welcome to the Thanksgiving Day special 2020, 2012, or no, 2020, November 26th, Thanksgiving Day here in the United States. So, yeah, we're just going to do a little fun broadcast today. I'm going to talk about the Weber family Thanksgiving traditions that really lasted for about 40 years, from the 50s up until 1999. And so that's what I'll focus on, those years today. The house that I grew up in, the house that my parents and of course extended family, grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins. So we'll tell that story. And I have guests. I have three of my siblings joining us today. Older brother John, a younger sister Jeanne, and younger brother Ken will all be joining us today. So that's going to be fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and share some of the pictures from the Thanksgiving past, and then I'll invite them to come on, and we'll share some of the memories we have and talk about that, and talk about what new traditions have started in the family, and what we're grateful for this year in 2020. Alrighty, so let's see. Now, tomorrow I am going to do a show, and it's going to be Brian Quinn, the author of Crush Your Career. And Brian has written a book about what how do you get your resume together? How do you get your resume read? How do you get an interview based on that resume? And then what you do during the interview process, and what you do in your first year in your new job. So that'll be tomorrow, Crush Your Career. On Monday, Bridget Kornetsky, who is an advocate and filmmaker, Where the Elephant Sleeps. And Bridget is coming to us from Switzerland. And for the last 10 years, she's dedicated her life to, elephants in captivity, specifically in the country of India. And that's what her film is about, Where the Elephant Sleeps. And so she'll join us live on Monday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Alrighty, now on Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to visit some of the other hosts of Spirituality Gone Wild. David Strickle, the Stream of David, will join us. David broadcast on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 p.m. On the West Coast, and that's his regular show. So that's something. So he's going to be our guest on Tuesday morning, and then Joseph Labruto, America's most beloved medium, and what Joseph does is he connects people in this day and age on Mother Earth with their departed people. So he is a medium, and we'll talk to him on Wednesday. And he has a show also on Wednesday nights. His show begins at 8 p.m. Now, I said that wrong. So on David's show is at 7 Eastern and 4 Pacific, and Joseph's show is at 8 p.m. Wednesday nights and 5 Pacific time. So those will be Tuesday and Wednesday. Alrighty. Now, because this is Thursday and it's a Throwback Thursday, I'm going to go ahead and use my Throwback Thursday rather than it's going to be my monologue, but we're going to make it the Throwback Thursday segment also. My siblings are probably going to comment on that, and the fact that on Throwback Thursday, I put mostly pictures of myself when I was a kid, and they were in a few of the pictures, but I mostly ignored them and made it all about me. Well, hey, it's my show. If they want to put pictures of them when they were a kid, they can throw their own show together. There you go. All righty, so let's go ahead and get into Thanksgiving past. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see if this all works. There we go. So we're going to talk about Thanksgivings in the past. And the earliest picture that we have is from 1956. And my father, I'm guessing it was my father, forgot to let the people sit down. And so the only picture from Thanksgivings in the 50s was a picture of the table. But there's the turkey looking real good at the head of the table. And you can see wine glasses and, drinks are all poured and just waiting for the family to join in. So anyway, sometime in the 50s, now my parents had lived in this house for probably 4 or 5 years at that point. I wasn't even born in 1956, but my older brother and sister were both little kids. And so I'm guessing that my grandparents, my father's parents, the paternal side of the family came up, and maybe one or two of his siblings, I'm not 100% sure who came in the 50s, but that's the picture we have back then. Now I mentioned that this is really the story of my father's parents, Jacob and Emmy Weber. They were my grandparents, my father's parents, and they were both born in Germany and came here to the country in my grandmother was like, I think 2 years old or 7 years old when she came over, and my grandfather was like 18 or 19 when he came to the country, and they ended up meeting and marrying, and then they had 4 kids. My father's the oldest. There were 2 other brothers, Tom and Ade, and then a sister, the youngest, Anne. So there was 4 children that my grandparents had, and these Thanksgiving stories that I'm going to share, these pictures are really those 4 families: my father, his 2 brothers, and his sister, and their spouses, and then their children. So my grandparents, Jacob and Emmy, they ended up having 13 grandchildren. I was one of them. There was 5 in our family, and the 2 brothers and the sister, they all had their own families. So it made up 13 grandkids. So that is really the, what this is all about. Now I'm just going to roll through some pictures rather quickly and share a little bit about each of the, the Thanksgiving. So now this is the very first picture that we have. And this is 1969. And it's actually 1969A because we weren't smart enough to set up a group picture where everybody could be seen. So this shows my grandfather in the lower left there, overlooking it. That's Jacob Weber. He is the patriarch of the family at that time, and his wife Emmy sitting in the middle there with the green dress on and the white sweater. All right, and then uncles and my older brother and sister and an aunt. Now we're going to flip around on the other side of the picture, and we can see the kids there lined up. And so this picture in 1969 had 3 of the 4 siblings. 3 of my father and 1 of his brothers and his sister. And then there was 10 grandchildren at that time. So, I told you there's going to be 13 altogether. Now, 1974, we got smarter and we said, hey, let's not try to put people around the table. Let's go ahead and throw them up there and, go down into the basement and line people up. So this is really that picture. This has all 4 it has my grandmother and grandfather right smack in the middle. And then, there's the 3 brothers and sister and their spouses and all of the kids. So 13 grandkids and my brother and his wife, John, right there in the middle, and Rosemary. For some reason, we ended up planning like the little baby, gluing the baby on there. That would be Jamie, who is no longer a little baby, has her own kids. But anyway, she got glued onto the picture. I'm not sure if she was born, and maybe she wasn't born, but for whatever reason, they glued it on there. All right. Now, fast forward to 1980, and this is the last year that I was actually still living in Southampton, Pennsylvania. And again, the same group of people, basically. Older sister Eileen had married Gary at the time, and cousin Sue had Joe, who was her future husband, attending, but mostly it was that same group of the 4, my grandparents, their 4 children, my father being one of them, and then the 13 grandchildren. Now, in 1983, let's see, I was home visiting. I had already moved to California. Brother John wasn't there, and cousin Sue and Joe weren't there. So, one of the neat things about the family is that, it was okay if you didn't make it some years, or you didn't make it most years. And so anyway, but you can see the picture there. Now, I want to also point out there, my grandfather sitting right in the middle. 1983, he was still with us, but he was starting to fade away a little bit. And then if you go to 1986, the next year that I have here, there we go. You can see Grandpa right smack in the middle, and that was the very last year he was with us. And the last 2 or 3 years he was, he was kind of fading away. And so you can see he was just he wasn't quite with us the way he used to be. But everybody else was looking good. And you can also see that all the cousins, not all the cousins, but lots of the cousins have all grown up, and a lot of them are bringing spouses now. So it's getting to be a bigger and bigger crowd. All righty, now we're going to jump a couple years forward into the 90s. This is 1990. And again, it wasn't one of the bigger crowds. Different people are missing, but that's okay. But you start to see, look at that, 5 kids right smack in the middle on laps right in the beginning. And so the whole next generation is coming and joining along with us. So, and if you go to 1992, it even gets crazier. Now you have 12 kids from the next generation in the front 2 rows. My goodness, 12 kids. So all the cousins have married, all of them, they're all having babies, and it's getting crazier and crazier. Now, here's 1994. And this has 45 people in the picture. This is the most populous crowd that they ever had at the house. And again, this all took place at my parents' house. I was not there at that picture, but that's okay. But anyway, I just show up because there was 45 people in it. Now, next year, 1995, kind of a small crowd here, only 36 people. There, man, what's going on here? And then in 1996, same thing, 36 people. And the funny thing about this picture is Uncle Wade up in the upper right corner had put on a mask. He put on a kind of a fake thing. Nobody knew about it until after the picture was developed. So always the practical joker. And then 1998, second to the last year, Grandma in the middle there. There she is, right there in the middle. This is the last year that her and Aunt Ann are in the photo. Now, that it wasn't the last year that they were alive, but it was the last year that they attended. And then they ended up passing away in the spring of 2000. And here is the very last year in 1999. And so you can see there's 28 people. My mother in the right in the turquoise blouse, and my father all the way to the left standing with the white shirt on. And they were really the two that made this happen all those years. And it was like their will that they happened. And it really became, I think, it was part of the legacy of the family and his parents, my father's parents, and once the parents were gone, they had done this Thanksgiving for, 40 years, and they said, okay, it's time to stop. And then, my sister, Eileen, took over her, having Thanksgiving dinner, and other family members went, and, people went all different ways, and that was cool. But it was like for 40 years, this, the Weber household, the family got together year after year. It was just a tradition. So pretty cool thing. I liked it. That is our Throwback Thursday segment. I'm going to go ahead and play the closing theme, and I'm going to then welcome my siblings onto the show, and we'll talk about some other memories. All right, John, Jeanne, Ken, the family is here. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Morning.
So what did you think about that little trip down memory lane? And what before I let you answer that, I'm going to say that Sister Jeanne put together the Weber family photo book. And so last year, or actually earlier this year, all of the Thanksgiving photos were hunted down, and they had been in frames on the walls in the old Southampton house, and then they were removed from frames, and so they were scanned in and digitized. And so anyway, they're all part of this memory book that Jeanne put together for us. So Jeanne, what was it like, putting together that memory book of Weber family traditions?
That was all garbled over here. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Oh. Did brothers hear it, or am I garbled the whole time?
No, I can hear you fine, Steve.
All right. Well, good. Well, let's go to John then. John, you're the oldest in the family, other than Dad, who's still alive at 91. What was some of your memories of the Thanksgiving dinners that we had over the years?
So I was present from the beginning. I was trying to think which year was the first year, and I think 1956 sounds like as good a guess as any. So I would have been there every year until 1972. So Rosemary and I got married in 72. And then for the next 10 years or so, we would go to Thanksgiving at Mom and Dad's house one year and Thanksgiving at Rosemary's parents' house the other year. So we were only there every other year. And then we moved to Kansas in 1982. We moved for work. So we would have been at Thanksgiving in 1982. We moved in December to Kansas. So right after that. And after that, we came infrequently because we had 4 children and it was hard to get back and a bad time of year. So we would be there maybe every 4 years or 5 years or so. So from 82 to 99, that 17-year run, we probably made 3 or 4 of them. I know the one that you talked about, Steve, from 90, the one where there were the 45 people, whatever year that was, 95-ish, right? We were in that one. So I'm sure I think Mom probably loved to see us, but what I'd call and say, hey, great news, we're coming for Thanksgiving this year. There's like another 6 people. So it's like, oh, great. Instead of 36, there's now 42. So anyway, every year Dad would, the years that we weren't there, which was more often than the years we were, I would call and the next day, and Dad would talk about who was there and who had a new baby or who had a new boyfriend or who got married. And he would always take the picture, and he'd always print an extra copy of the picture and send them to us. So I have all those pictures floating around here somewhere too. So I think it was a terrific way to keep the family together. It was as much of a family reunion every year as it was a Thanksgiving dinner. And I remember talking to Mom. So the last year she would have done it in 99, she would have been 72 years old, maybe. And I remember talking to her a few years before and saying, so how are you going to do this? Anyway, this seems like a lot of work. And she'd say, oh, Teresa does a lot of the work and Eileen does a lot of the work and so on and so on. But she'd say, like, I'm going to do it at least as long as Grandma is there. And then I think that's a good time to end it and people can start their own families. So she had a great commitment. Her and Dad had a great commitment to the family and, perpetuated it all those years. So.
Yeah.
I love the pictures every year. You'd see the people, you'd watch the people grow up. I couldn't remember what year we first started with the big post picture either. That was probably sometime in the mid to late 70s, probably, right? But you could pick the same people out in there year and year. Once in a while, a picture will emerge, and like there was one on Facebook recently, and it said, "What year was this? Anybody know?" And I said, "Well, Katie is 2 years old, so it has to be 1980 because she was born in 1978." So that's how I could always figure out how old, which year it is if it's not captioned.
Ken, you were on the opposite end of it because you showed up as like a little kid in the first pictures because the 50s didn't have pictures, but in the 60s, you were this little kid, and then you grew up and your kids appeared in the pictures. So you probably attended more than any of the four. The four of us here. You probably attended the most Thanksgiving dinners.
I think I picked myself out of every single picture except for the one with just the plates. I couldn't that was before I was born. So they didn't decide to put people in the pictures till I showed up. And that's my story. But
all right. Well, good. And Jeanne, you and I were both living. I was living in California in the '80s. You were in New Hampshire, and then you were in California, and we lived just a few miles apart from each other for almost 20 years in California. So we didn't get back there every year, but certainly every few years we would attempt to get back there.
Right. Definitely got back there. Always made an effort. Didn't happen every year, but probably every other year, certainly every third year. Definitely missing it when we weren't there. So wasn't the same.
There was a picture in, I think it might have been 94 or 95 where Bob, your husband, you weren't married yet, but he showed up in a picture, and I had meant to, point that out. But, in the detail, I missed that. So, Bob certainly joined us on a couple of those visits too.
He made one Thanksgiving. Yep.
All right. So, Jeanne, I was mentioning earlier when I was a little garbled, you put together this nice family photo book, and it's not just Thanksgivings, but there's an addendum where all of the Thanksgiving pictures, were placed in it. So that's why it was easy for me to have the digital pictures to do this. In the olden days, it was kind of hard because you have to get out the albums, and now you can just, open up a file that says Thanksgiving photos and open them up and share them on your screen.
So, and that was Dad was the photographer. He made sure he recorded all the events. So mostly slide film. And then John, a couple years ago, took all those slides and over the course of a year, got them all turned into digital photos. So now we've all got them until digital becomes obsolete and the next great thing comes along. But we'll all be gone by then. Matter.
John, you moved to Kansas. You've got 4 kids. You're the most prolific of all of us. You've got 4 kids, and how many grandkids? 7, 8?
7 grandchildren.
All righty. And so you've had your own family traditions out there, but of course this year being an odd year, things are a little different. So families are, kind of keeping to themselves. But what are some of the things you've done over the years in terms of getting together with family?
So we would, we had the years that we didn't come back to Pennsylvania, which was most of them. We would have Thanksgiving dinner here, of course. And the kids were little, so when we moved here in 82, Mike was born in 82. So Mike was the first Thanksgiving we had here. He was 1. And and then Jamie, was the first one to get married. And so we had Thanksgiving at Jamie and Scott's house a few times. And then we've had it at Katie's house a few times. So I have four grown children. Jamie is 45, Katie's 42, Mike's 39, 8 or 9, and Liz will be 35 like next week. So, she lives in Chicago now, so we rarely see them at Thanksgiving. I'd say we had Thanksgiving here, pretty much until Jamie and Scott moved to their house. They've been there for 20 years. So it's probably 15 years ago. They would have it once in a while. So, Rose is happy to let the girls take it over this year. So the plan this year was to go to Katie's house. We were going to go to Katie's house, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we decided to, even though we don't live in California, Jeanne, and our governor here is not quite as much of a Nazi as yours, we decided to bow to common sense. And so everybody's staying home. So Jamie and her family are home by themselves, and Katie and her family. Mike is coming over here. So Mike and Rose are doing the cooking, and I'm sitting in my recuperation chair and watching football on TV while they do all the work.
Yes, I should. 2 things I'll mention about John, and then we'll jump to the other sibs. But John and Rosemary will be celebrating their 50th anniversary in another 2 years from now. And speaking of 2, John had 2 of his knees replaced 2 weeks ago today. So there you go. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Ken's in much better shape than John is because he's the hiker of the family. You've not ever spent a Thanksgiving out hiking on the trail, have you, Ken?
No, I have not. It's hard to cook a turkey while backpacking. When I figure that out, I will do it. But no, I have not.
All right. Well, and Jeanne, now, Jeanne, I have a question, and I know the answer already, but here, I'll ask all of you. How many of you have ever, on Thanksgiving, gone out to a restaurant?
Ooh.
Never once.
Yeah, I've done it twice, and one time was with Jeanne and Bob in San Jose, California. We went out, and it was actually a lot of fun. And then one time when I was in Montana, I went with some friends to a restaurant. So that's kind of a fun thing. Lots of families have done that, but that was certainly not part of what we were used to growing up. So yeah. Well, what's any other family traditions, Jeanne? You've been in California for 20 some years now. What are typical Thanksgivings like for you these days?
They're low key. Bob has a small family, but we usually get together, and every year Bob says, "Oh, but I don't like turkey," and then he eats it and he says, "Oh, this is good. This is not so bad." So it's something if you don't grow up with it, I think it's just a different mindset. But then he has it and he eats it and he likes it. So, and then the next year it's like, I don't really like turkey. It's like, yeah, you do. You just forgot. But
turkey is very much an American thing. So if you grow up in another country, you're probably not used to turkey.
I have seen turkeys while backpacking, but I haven't been able to catch one.
I've seen a lot of turkeys on the golf.
So Ken, you've been in Pennsylvania your entire life. Of course, you were attending the Weber family traditions up till 1999. What happened after that? What did you do with your family?
So it was very interesting. I was kind of thinking, what is my traditions and what have I done at Thanksgivings? And growing up, it was always going to Mom and Dad's house, helping move furniture. So basically turning their living room into a dining room, setting up. I mean, my siblings know, but my dad made these 3 tables, and we'd set up these tables every year and turn basically our living room into a dining room. And then there was leftover in the kitchen for the kids, which slowly became bigger and bigger. But then when Mom and Dad stopped having the Thanksgivings, right about that time, Sherry and I, my first wife, we bought a bigger house, and then we started to host for a few years. And I thought that was going to become a tradition and continue forever. But then the marriage sort of stopped, so that we had to stop hosting Thanksgivings because that would have been weird. And so then Eileen graciously took over, and I started going up there for Thanksgivings. But this year we're, again, because of COVID, and we're just staying home. And so Tricia, my current wife, and our kids, the 2, Kate and Lex, will be home with us. And actually Eric, the kids' father, who lives down the street, he had nothing to do. And since he's sort of in our circle anyway, because the kids go back and forth, we invited him up. So yeah, that's a little weird, but hey, it's 2020. What are you going to do?
That's right.
There's no rules this year. Everything's been thrown out the window in 2020. So
rules are out the window.
All righty. Well, good. Well, let's go ahead and we'll just sort of maybe go around once and say what we're all grateful for. And I'll start off, and I'll just say that I am grateful for family, but specifically I'm grateful for our sister Eileen, who is not here with us today. She is busy making a meal for 2 of her kids. So she's cooking a turkey, and she is going to take it and deliver a meal to 2 of her 4 kids and drop off the whole assortment of turkey and all of the assorted things. And so it'll be, because of COVID, it'll be a drive-by. The kids will have to come out. We'll have masks on, and they'll hand the meal out the window of the car and drive off. So keeping social distancing procedures. But that's kind of neat that she's going to do that. And I'm grateful because they have, her and Gary have welcomed me into the house for this last year. And our father, 91-year-old father, who was the person really responsible for all of those pictures and all of that furniture moving and all of those people coming to his house year after year after year. He is living at the apartment attached to Eileen's house. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to spend this last year in a safe place, with dad and with family. So, Ken, what are you grateful for?
I guess this year I am grateful for basically just resilience. I was thinking about that and how resilient I have been in my life. Like I mentioned earlier, going through, a divorce. My life got rebuilt. I'm very happy and continuing on. And no matter really what life throws at me or humans in general, we tend to bounce back. And even this year, so like in the beginning of the year, being locked down, and I was able to keep my job, which was great. I was able to keep earning an income, and what could I do? What could I control? And I could control, my health and my, got into some good healthy habits, and things are good. I have a good relationship. I have a job, and I'm grateful. And I get to be entertained every day at 10 p.m. by the American Gumption morning show, which is awesome. But I do have one little complaint here, brother. And I believe this is my first time on this show, and I did not get the first time guest. I thought you were going to play it 3 times, and you stuck it to us.
Technically, you are correct, and I did think about playing that. Showing the pictures, here's my excuse. Showing the pictures takes a lot of memory, and when you play these different songs, it takes a lot of memory. And when I have 4 guests on, it takes a little more memory. And I was afraid of crashing my computer, so I want to invite you back, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation. I will play the guest song then, even though it'll be your second time on the show. How about that? All right. Well, Jeanne, what are you grateful for?
Oh, grateful for family. Grateful that we're all actually friends as well as siblings, and grateful everybody's got a safe place to ride out this pandemic. Another year, it'll be in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that like when it all started, you just couldn't have imagined it taking like a full year, or like probably what's going to end up being the better part of 2 years. But let's hope that in 1 year from now, it's in the rearview mirror, as you say. So that's great. All righty. Well, good. And John, how about you?
Well, I'm going to be repetitive, I'm afraid, because I should have asked to go first since I'm the oldest. I would say I hadn't thought of this, but I do. I think Jeanne made an excellent point that the 4 of us plus Eileen, the 5 of us, and all of our extended families do get along well. I know lots of people in our situation where that's not the case. We have a kind of an extended family gathering called the Web Fest, where we try to get together every 3 years, give or take, and we'll have probably 40 or 50 people in a great big house for a week here in 2022. We pushed it back to there. Most immediately, I was thinking, and this is along the lines of what Ken said, that in 2020 has been a crazy year. I think what I'm particularly thankful for the fact that all of us have been healthy. All my family's been healthy. All my children and their in-law and their husband, their spouses, everyone's still working. No one lost their jobs. So I count my lucky stars, and I thank God for the fact that we've been very blessed. I know there are many families in the United States who are not in that, who can't say that. And so I'm very thankful for that in this particular situation this year.
All righty. Well, very good. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you. We could go around one more time if there's anything else. Anybody who else wants to say anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap this show up, this special edition of the Thanksgiving special. Ken, anything else from you?
No, I just appreciate being on the show, and it's good seeing y'all. And tell Eileen that she does know where we live, and if she wants to drop off some pies later, we'll be here, and I'll have a mask, and I'll come out to the driveway and get it.
And I should say that there's my biggest fan. I always have one person watching every show, and he is down there watching right now. So you guys should probably all say hello to your father.
Hi, Dad. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey,
All right.
I love those pictures. I'll say that I am, I'm thankful also to Dad and Mom, of course, for having these family traditions and continuing them for such a long time. I know that had to be a lot of work. It is fun, but it is hard work. And the idea of posing the big picture every year for Thanksgiving and perpetuating that for 25 or 30 years, that was a kind of a stroke of genius or a stroke of luck or combination. So thanks for doing that.
Very good. Jeanne, anything else you want to say to Dad or to the world?
Nope. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your turkey. And I got to go put pumpkin pie in the oven.
All right. Right. Pumpkin pie was a big tradition at the family. So we always appreciated homemade pumpkin pie. All righty. Well, good. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this show, but I'll just say thank you to my siblings. Thank you to Eileen and Gary, who have been hosting me this last year, and I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys, and I'm just grateful that we are friends, and that not only are you siblings, but you're my friends. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Steve, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
All righty. All right. We'll see you later then.
All right.
All righty. Well, that is the Thanksgiving show. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my siblings, Jeanne and Ken and John, and thank you to Eileen, who wasn't able to join us today. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to welcome Brian Quinn, the author of Crush Your Career, and then on Monday, Bridget Kornetsky, a filmmaker, Where the Elephant Sleeps. She's coming to us from Switzerland, and she's going to tell us about the advocacy she's done in trying to save the elephants in captivity in India. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we have David Strickle and Joseph Labruto, two of the Spirituality Gone Wild hosts that both have a show on Wednesday evenings. All righty, everybody, that's it. Have a great rest of your Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us here on this Thanksgiving holiday. I will see you all tomorrow. All righty. Well, I normally would sign off, have signed off already, but I do see a few comments that I didn't notice during it. I want to just see that Cousin Diane checks in and says hello to us. And also Cousin Gary is saying hello. I think that's great. And Yeah, he says, Gary says, Arlene got your dad's photo, Jeanne. Yes, so the Gahagan family has also taken photos and forces the entire group to get together. All righty, that's it, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thanksgiving. It was great seeing you all today. I'm glad I did this show. A fun time. All right, have a great rest of your Thanksgiving, everybody.